Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Man, oh man, do I have a video for you guys today. Democrat scandals. Nothing new, but always something interesting that we love to get into. It's time to hold politicians accountable, friends. We know how the game is played, we know how the sausage is made, and it's time to stop overlooking things based on partisan affiliation. I don't care what political party you are on, whether you're a GOPer, a Democrat, an independent, I do not care. I'm sick of political corruption. I'm sick of pay-for-play politics at the expense of the middle class. Always keep that in mind. All of this corruption, all of the funny business and BS that goes on within the halls of Washington is all at your expense, the taxpayer. And this one specifically is literally at your expense. Ilhan Omar caught within another scandal involving her husband. Is it her husband? I'm not exactly sure. I know it started out as an affair, but yeah, Ilhan Omar's husband, Tim Mynett, receiving bailout money after receiving $2.8 million from Omar's campaign, while small business in Minnesota, small business across the country, is either being vandalized, burnt down to the ground, or essentially choked out through Democrat draconian policy. Yep, rules for thee and not for me. On top of that, we have Eric Swalwell and the whole Chinese spy thing. We have a video from Bernie Sanders pretty much proving the point that we've been making on this channel for how long. And so we just gotta expose Democrat corruption across the board. We gotta get into these scandals, but before we do, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright, so I wasn't lying. I wasn't embellishing anything that I said in the intro. Ilhan Omar's husband received $635,000 in COOF-19 bailout money for his consulting firm, despite Congresswoman paying his company a staggering $2.25 million this year alone. And here's the TLDR from the Daily Mail. Ilhan Omar's husband, Tim Mynett, received $635K. Mynett co-owns the Washington, D.C. firm E Street Group. The company received $134,000 in Paycheck Protection Program loans and $500,000 in the Economic Injury Disaster loans in April, records show. E Street was also paid $2.256 million since the start of 2020 from Omar's campaign for digital advertising, fundraising, consulting, and website production. Omar announced in mid-November that her campaign was terminating its contract with the firm after scrutiny about the payments, but before she ended that contract with Tim Mynett's firm, she made sure to kick him $140K, which we covered the other day, or $138K. I showed you guys this story obviously just the other day, but how many stories have we seen exactly like this? We saw it in Hollywood. We saw it all over Los Angeles of celebrity groups, celebrity businesses, businesses that are connected to the Washington elite across the entire country who objectively do not need paycheck protection. They don't need these loans in general, and they get them on first priority. Meanwhile, the little guy is still struggling to get the help that he needs. You know, how many times are people going to fall for this racket from the Democrat Party that they care about the little guy? Ilhan Omar, representing Minnesota, a place where businesses were destroyed, literally burnt down to the ground, not figuratively, not metaphorically, literally burnt down to the ground, and she showed absolutely no sympathy whatsoever. In fact, there was a greater likelihood for her to show sympathy towards those burning than the buildings being burnt, and at the exact same time, being a part of the Democrat modus operandi of absolutely decimating small business with overreaching unconstitutional COOF orders. But of course, those businesses don't matter. No, not at all. You're not connected enough to Washington. It's a complete joke, and there should be investigations into all of this stuff. Over the last couple days, we've exposed so many of these different stories. Seemingly, it's pretty much across the board within Washington. All the stories that we've covered have been under the Democrat banner. We just covered Maxine Waters giving her daughter $200,000+ just last year. We know the whole thing with the Biden email scandal, with Ilhan Omar and her husband kicking back millions and millions of dollars to his firm. And where's the outrage? Where's the outrage from the Democrat base? I mean, they didn't stop talking about Donald Trump and the conflict of interest with some of his hotels and having foreign leaders stay at his hotels. Oh my god, wow, they ate at his restaurant. Wow, he must have made like $50 profit off of that. Oh my god, it's a conflict of interest. Meanwhile, there's millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars being funneled to those who are tied in with Washington. Nobody says a peep, while the elites are allowed to do whatever they want. Massive corporations are being bailed out left, right, and center. In fact, they're prioritized. Hollywood is prioritized. The movie industry is getting all of the help that they need from government. California is behind that as well. We saw it just recently with Eric Garcetti's most recent decision to allow the film industry and all of the elitist industries to continue within the city. Meanwhile, the woman who owns her little bar with her patio doing outdoor dining, she needs to close down and go under. And meanwhile, all of this is happening. Nancy Pelosi is holding back stimulus from the Americans that need it most. And Bernie Sanders just admitted it once again again, another scandal. I mean, Nancy Pelosi pretty much admitted it just the other day and we covered that, but now here's Bernie Sanders basically admitting the exact same thing, that the Democrats should have signed the $1.8 trillion deal. They didn't because of political reasons, and most Democrats aren't happy about it because they're getting less now than they would have in that deal. Check this out.
Well, you talked about that $1.8 trillion bill that the White House, Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, was working on with the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The Democrats walked away from that bill because they wanted $2.2 trillion, and they walked away from $1.8 trillion. Was that a mistake?
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Here was a proposal much, much larger. Democrats said, no, that's not good enough. And now we're prepared to accept a proposal which has, I think, $350 billion in new money.
And so he's questioning, why didn't we sign the $1.8 trillion deal? It was a good deal. And now we're going to have to settle with getting half of what we would have got in that deal because Nancy Pelosi, was playing 2020 presidential politics with your lives and your livelihood. It's pretty much as clear as that, folks. And as that's happening, we've got all kinds of stories like this coming out. Millions of Americans broke, unemployed, behind on rent. Leading economists are warning that many Americans are no longer to meet basic needs due to the pandemic and its effects on the economy. Moody Analytics has sounded the alarm due in light of a recent survey that found that 9 million American people stated they are currently behind on their rent. And look, I've been saying this for a very long time. What you're seeing in the stock market, it's a mirage. It's not real. It's mainly propped up by the immense profits coming from the tech industry. The economy, the average person, the middle class, people's savings, there's about to be a fallout within the next 12 to 24 months that's going to be catastrophic. Seriously, take my word for that. There's a reason why I've used my voice on this channel to advocate for the small business as much as I have. There's a reason why I've argued for moderate policy that protects the vulnerable, protects people who are in need of protection from the COOF, of course, while also protecting small business and allowing people to continue making a living and putting food on the table for their family, as well as being able to pay their rent or pay their mortgage. Because the fallout that we're about to see going forward is going to be ridiculous. And who is going to benefit? It's going to be the elites who are going to buy everything up. The rich will get more rich and the poor will get more poor. The middle class will stay stagnant or lose net worth. There are some seriously dark days right around the corner, and people just seem to not understand once again the way the economy works. And if Biden's the one in charge of that recovery, God help us all. Let me just leave it right there. And obviously, the last scandal which we have to talk about, a Chinese spy was allegedly tied in with Democrat officials within certain Midwestern states. I mean, it's probably not just within those states or just those politicians. This is probably a widespread problem across the entire country, but this is starting to break out. Very recently, there was a video that I think I retweeted. If I didn't retweet it, that's a mistake because I intended to, but just listen to this scathing comment which played on Tucker Carlson's show just the other day.
政府跟我们打贸易战，那么我们为什么搞不定特朗普政府？啊，为什么以前1992年到2016年之间，中美之间各种问题都能搞得定？是不是？大家发现没有？所有的危机，不管是银河号事件，还是炸大使馆，还是撞了飞机，所有事情全部是床头吵架床尾和，2个月之内搞定。什么原因？啊，这儿我抛出一个可能又要是暴论了，就是因为咱们上边有人，啊，就是我们在美国的权势核心圈啊，我们有我们的老朋友。
Well, there's some truth to that, because there was a Chinese spy named Fang Fang who allegedly slept with 2 US mayors and targeted politicians, including one of the youngest members of the House, Eric Swalwell, before slipping out of the US when the FBI came knocking. And allegedly, she helped Eric Swalwell fundraise for his re-election campaign and had interactions with him at several different events. And the question is, how deep do these ties go? How deep do these Chinese spies who are fundraising for some of these American politicians, which is obviously a position with a politician that gives you a hell of a lot of leverage, and considering the ties with China, how deep does the rabbit hole go and how serious is this problem? And right now we're seeing it clearly within the Democrats' side. It's obviously within the GOP as well, but I'd assume, considering how invested China is in getting Democrats elected, it's probably more of a Democrat issue once again. And I don't think that's a partisan thing to say. I think that's probably just common sense. And given what I just spoke about not too long ago of the looming recession that I think is right around the corner, frankly, the economic catastrophe that I think is is coming within the next year or two, you definitely don't want Biden at the head of the ship there. Well, given the dynamic between China and the US in the modern day, you sure as hell don't want Biden at the helm of the ship under those circumstances. I'm just going to leave it right there. But that's what I got for you guys on this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. Now, I got to get back to work. There's a whole lot of hypocrisy, a whole lot of corruption, which has to be exposed on a daily basis. So I'm going to keep you guys updated. I'm going to get back to work. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.